Hello, and welcome to the People's Mental Stimulus Update. Today is called a Battle Royale. What it is it's the Democratic leads of the House and the Senate versus the Republican leads of the House and the Senate. And as you know, there's only one leader for each party in the House and the Senate, so let's get started with the ones that make the real choices here. Let's start off with good old Mitch McConnell, the one person that everyone loves to hate because he is so crooked. Well, from 2015 to 2021, McConnell has basically been the Senate lead until, Schumer took over from him and just smacked him upside the head. It's sort of funny. But he's only the second Kentuckian to ever be majority leader for U.S. Senate. The first senator, Alden Barkley, led the Democrats from 1937 to 1949. McConnell led the transformation to the federal judiciary system in a victory of the rule of law in the Constitution. His consequential decision to follow a Supreme Court vacancy opening during 2016. The presidential election gave him the opportunity to confirm justices as majority leader. In 4 years, he has prioritized the confirmation of 30% of circuit court judges nationwide and a total of 234 lifetime appointments to the federal bench. So basically, you can see that Mitch McConnell has been trying to stack the Supreme Court against the people with a lot of Republicans. His first election to the Senate in 1984, McConnell is Kentucky's longest serving senator. That's a lot of people. I mean, the Kentucky is the taken state after all. And as you know, they like to be taking a lot of stuff and just not getting it back. But that's another story for another time. He made history that year as the only Republican challenger in the county to defeat the incumbent Democrat and as the first Republican to win a statewide Kentucky race since 1968. Well, let's hope he loses the next Senate race because we need to get rid of McConnell fast because he's a big loser. On November 3rd, 2020, he was elected to a record seventh term, winning 117 of the Commonwealth's 120 counties. Before his election to the Senate, he served as judge executive of Jefferson County, Kentucky from 1978 until he commenced his Senate term on January 3rd, 1985. McConnell currently serves as the Senate majority of the Appropriations, Agriculture, and Rules Committee. Wow, so he's basically part of the Rules Committee, so that's why we keep getting screwed. McConnell currently serves as the senior member of the Appropriations. Oh, we said that. McConnell is married to Secretary Elaine L. Chao, the 18th U.S. Secretary of Transportation. Previously, Secretary Chao serves for 8 years as President George W. Bush's Secretary of Labor. She is also a former president of the United Way of America and a director of the Peace Corps. And look at how both Mitch McConnell and Elaine Chao have sunken. McConnell failed to impeach a president who committed treason, and Elaine stole close to $1 million of the people's money from the CARES Act, if you remember from last year. So they've sunken pretty bad. I mean, these are the Republicans that are supposed to represent us, and McConnell can't even impeach Donald Trump for basically the insurrection and all the stuff he did, and Elaine Chow's ripping off money from the Paycheck Protection money, which is the people's money. I mean, that's pretty bad. And then we got Chuck Schumer. In 1998, Chuck was elected to the U.S. Senate. He became New York's senior senator when Senator Daniel Patrick, I can't say his last name, Mahoyan, I think it is, retired in 2000. Chuck kicked off his first Senate term by advocating he would visit each of New York's 62 counties every year, a tradition he continues to keep to this day to keep in touch with voters from each corner of the state. No, see, that's what we're talking about. That's a good representative. He actually goes and he actually gets out there with the people. I mean, you don't see McConnell doing that, but you hear Chuck Schumer doing that. That's pretty good, actually. Chuck represents the 19th CD in Brooklyn and Queens for 8 years, where he established his reputation as a consumer advocate and a pioneer in the fight against crime during the days of sky high crime and murder rates that plagued communities throughout America. He was the lead sponsor of the Violence Against Women Act, which combats domestic violence and sexual assault. That's very commendable. And the Brady Bill, which institutes mandatory background checks for handgun purchases, which isn't really going that well because if you saw my video that I put in here on my thing, I think it was last week or something like that, showing a 13-year-old boy going into a gun show and buying a gun without having to worry about, registration or anything like that. So the Brady Bill is not really helping on that aspect. He championed the Hate Crimes Prevention Act, which organized data on crimes from biology to biology and allowed federal authorities to prosecute these crimes. He also sponsored legislation that required banks and credit card companies to provide a greater disclosure to customers. Well, there you go. I mean, he's basically telling the banks, all these big money makers, that hey, look, you got to tell the customers everything, or you can't be in business. So, see, Chuck Schumer saying it for the people. I actually like Chuck Schumer so far. I've actually enjoyed him as my Democratic leader, anyways, because he's been pretty cool. After New Yorkers are reelected him in 2004, Chuck secured two powerful posts: a seat in the Senate Financial Committee, which oversees the nation's tax trade, Social Security, and health care legislation, and a chairman of the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee. Chuck successfully led this DSCC for two consecutive cycles and greatly expanded the number of seats in his conference. We need more Democrats like him to expand more seats in the whole Democratic caucus, actually. Following the election in 2016, then Majority Leader Harry Reid, Democrat from Nevada, appointed Chuck Schumer to serve as vice chair of the Democratic Conference, the number 3 position in the Democratic leadership team. In 2016, Chuck was once again reelected by the people of New York. I commend the people of New York. At the same time, his colleagues elected him to serve as leader of the Democratic caucus, the first time a New York senator held this position. You gotta admit, that's actually pretty good. Look at him now. He is actually the Senate Majority Lead, and he started out as, gosh, the ninth CD in the Brooklyn and Queens. It is a small, like, what they call it, a freshman senator is what they call it, actually, because I'll talk about it in a bit. I guess more like college. Started as a freshman and worked your way up to a senior, because I guess now he's a senior senator, just like a good old snitch. Mitch McConnell. But as you can see, you can see the big differences between Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer. There's a lot of big differences here. And now we're going to talk about the House leads. We got Congressman Kevin McCarthy, Republican, which is the House lead for the Republicans, proudly serves California's 23rd district and is currently the Republican leader in the United States House of Representatives. Kevin was first elected to Congress in 2006 and is a native of Bakersfield and a fourth-generation Kern County resident. Ooh, that's a big thing, right? In Washington, Kevin fights every day for the constituents of California's 23rd district and for the future of America with a simple promise: to have the courage to lead with wisdom and listen. Really? Listen, to lead with courage, with wisdom and listen. Well, the only person he's been listening to is good old snitch Mitch McConnell, because when Mitch says don't vote, he listens. So he's not really back the American people that much, especially when he's hurting them by listening to all the traitorous Republicans like Mitch McConnell, Ted Cruz, and down the line. But that's besides the point. He put himself through college and graduated school at California State University. Bakersfield. While at school, he interned for Congressman Bill Thomas, and later became a member of Congressman Thomas's staff in 2000. He won his first public election as trustee to the Kern County College. Okay, he became a Kern County College trustee. Okay, nice. District, and then in 2002 he was elected to represent the 23rd Assembly District in California State Assembly. As a freshman legislator, there you go, freshman legislator, he was selected unanimously by the Republican colleagues to serve as the Assembly Republican leader, becoming the first freshman legislator and the first legislator from Kern County to assume this top post in the California legislature. Kevin worked with his colleagues in the Assembly and Senate and with the governor to reduce California's budget deficit, overhaul the state workers' compensation systems, and enhance California's businesses' climates to create more opportunities for California workers and businesses. So, Californians, if you watch this, how's that working out for you? Having Republicans screw you like that, right? He was elected Republican leader of the House, where he now leads Congress in fighting for individual liberties. Sorry, but individual liberty in my butt, and like that still gets me. Individual liberties. Yeah, they don't fight for our liberties. They fight for the 1%ers that have the millions and billions that want to keep the money and not pay high taxes, just like the rest of Republicans do. Since Kevin was elected to Congress, he and his Republican colleagues have blocked the largest tax increases in American history, cut out of control government spending, passed bills to create jobs, promoted North America's energy independence. Really, and they're the ones who wanted to get us out of the what is it, the climate peace accords and stuff like that. Please, I mean, some of this stuff isn't him at all. And let's see, promoted and fought to free America from the meddlesome influence of Washington in health care and beyond. Now, from what the Republicans are doing now, does Kevin McCarthy still basically hold up to his ideals? I mean, I don't think he does. I mean, his ideals are like what the Democrats are right now. They're fighting for the people, and he's not fighting for the people. He's fighting for the money in his pockets. And that's just Kevin McCarthy, Republican for you. And then we also got the Democratic lead, Steny H. Hoyer, which is a tireless fighter for economic development and a leader in creating jobs. He has helped create and save nearly 23,000 jobs by supporting federal facilities and associated businesses located in and around the 5th District, including NASA, as well as a few other places I'm not going to name, but NASA is just one of them. Let's see here. He also supports the FDA at White Oak and a future NOAA Center for Washington and Climate Control in College Park. He also works hard to protect our national resources, in addition to supporting every major piece of environmental legislation well in Congress. He also has co-sponsored numerous bills to protect the Chesapeake Bay and its tributaries, including a Chesapeake Bay Restoration Act. He secured more than $10 million in the 1990s to respond to the studies. It is and its effect on humans, basically. Wow. Okay. He secured more than $400 million in 2008 for a farm bill to enable farmers to implement environmental best policies and reduce runoffs to the Chesapeake Bay. He championed the efforts to replenish the declining oyster population of the bay and to restore the Potomac. See, he has some pretty good standards there, you gotta say, right? He's trying to restore our natural resources while the Republicans are trying to tear them away from us. Isn't that nice of them, right? Congressman Hoyer is also dedicated to outstanding his constituents service at the office in Washington D.C., Greenbelt, and Waldorf. He and his staff help constituents cut through the red tape and solve problems related to passports, immigration, government services, and a host of other issues. See how the Democrats are helping out the people, and the Republicans are like, we don't want to talk to them; they're not worth it. In Congress, Steny Hoyer has built an outstanding record of achievement and earned a reputation as a strong leader and an able legislator. In the 111th Congress, his skills at consensus building helped the House pass important legislation to strengthen our economy and bring health coverage to an additional 4 million low-income children throughout the state's children's health insurance program. He also been one of the Congress's leading voices to fiscal responsibility and a government that pays for what it buys. He's done a lot of stuff, basically. He's basically, let's see here. He did the Americans with Disability Act, the ADA, to an overwhelming approval in the House in the 1990s. This landmark civil rights legislation, signed into law on January 26, 1990, by President George H.W. Bush, a Republican loser, basically, has helped millions of disabled Americans to enter the workforce, achieve independence, and go as far as the talents take them. See, Steny Hoyer actually is pretty cool. So, I was insulting George W. Bush because he's Republican. Let's see here. Congressman Hoyer also led efforts to pass the ADA Amendments Act, which allows millions of Americans with disabilities to benefit from the ADA's original intent and inclusion. So basically, Steny Hoyer's actually been a good Democrat. But before I go on any further, this is a short, brief battle of the Democrats and Republicans. Hope you guys actually enjoyed my broadcast. And if you did, please let me know by hitting the like and subscribe button. But until next time, you guys have a wonderful evening, and a broadcast again to you either tomorrow or Friday. Until then, bye.
I got this feeling inside my bones. You in the club, just to party. I'm there, I get paid a fee. It's Friday night and I won't be long till I hit the dance floor, hit the dance floor. I'm living out in